Good evening. Tonight, we're going to be talking about aromatherapy, the history of aromatherapy, where it all began, and its modern day use in holistic therapy. It's important because this, in the time of Atlantis and Lemuria, they were healing with flower essence. So even back then, the fragrance played a very important role in the ability for a person balance their bodies and return to a state of health. So I guess before I start even on that, I should explain that we're made of energy. The energy, therefore, is a frequency. And the frequency is supposed to be sinusoidal, which means it goes up and down in nice rounded loop and with a very small distance between the higher points and the lower points. If that's the case, someone would be in a state of balance. If they're in a state of balance, they're in a state of health. When there's issues with someone's frequency, if they don't pay attention to the disruptions in their energy, then it will eventually concretize into a sort of illness. Well, before we get to illness, we will start with a disease or a painful moment or a sneeze or something that way long before it becomes chronic. We're getting small messages from our body. Our body is talking to us constantly. We just often choose to ignore it or to say, oh, it's nothing. We also have not been educated properly in how to recognize those messages that we receive. So we tend to say, oh, my back hurts, or, oh, this is sore. And then because we lead busy lives and we're trying to, I don't know, work more to get more money, to buy more things, we just keep on ignoring these messages for the very, very long time. Back in Atlantis and Lemuria, a state of health was required in order to advance spiritually. So someone's body was the key to if you miss the message coming in from spiritual body, emotional body, mental body, it would eventually store itself in the physical body. And before it gets stored, you first get a few alerts, right? You get notifications. And they would then take these very seriously and right away readjust their frequency, readjust their energy. And so one of the easiest way to imagine this reset happening is to look at the physiology of your body. The physiology of your body, most of it runs based on just a few tiny, I wouldn't even say organs. They run on endocrine glands. They run on your thyroid gland. So if your thyroid's out, ask anybody who suffers from low thyroid or hyperthyroid, and it affects many, many things in their body. A thyroid that's hypothyroid, you will have the dry skin, you'll have the brittle hair, you'll have the brittle nails, you'll have the tiredness, the fatigue, the constant feeling of being hungry, slow metabolism. That's just from one, yes? That's located in the throat. Interestingly enough, in my career, I've noticed that a lot of the times, most people have an issue with speaking their truth, being who they are, right? So they're pretending to be somebody else, or they're pretending to agree so they won't disagree with someone. They're afraid of being in a confrontation, and so they're stifling that. Therefore, you can develop serious discordance in your energy at that level. And what's going to affect it physically, it's going to affect the thyroid. Right? So that would be a more of a, I would say, on the chronic side of things. So at first you'll get the sore throat, the itchy throat, you'll get the cough, you'll get all these things until eventually it settles there and then it creates the issues, right? So ask yourself, if you know anybody who has a thyroid issue, if you look at them and you know that they've been hiding part of themselves for a very long time, then you know that they're not the type of people that will stand up for themselves. They're not the type of people who will just share an opinion because that they don't think that they can, or that it's important, or that they'll be heard, or. The other important ones are the hypothalamus, and that's in the very center of your brain. You also have the hippocampus, And they're very tiny, and there's 3 of them, and they're all connected. One creates the juice, the other one distributes the juice, and the other one receives the juice. Those 3 are also massively important. And where are they located? But very close to your olfactory nerves. So the nerves that you have in your nose that are going straight to your brain. Which takes us to fragrance and aromatherapy. Why is aromatherapy so efficient? And why does it work so well? Because it's basically plugged in directly into the brain. As opposed to something that you're doing with your hands, it has to travel a long way. And if you ever played the game telephone, you know that as the message going around the room from this person to the next person to the next person, often the message gets garbled, right? And we end up with a different message when it gets to the brain. Yeah. So it's in the same idea. It will take a while for, let's say, reflexology to be as efficient as the aromatherapy, because the aromatherapy is the closest way to your brain. Aromatherapy is considered a holistic healing treatment that uses natural plant extracts to promote health and well-being. It's all about, we say plants, but it also could work with some citrus fruits and things like that, that you can have a grapefruit extract, but originally it was only based on plants. So the aromatherapy is medically proven that it is actually effective. There has been research done on it, and it's proved to enhance both the physical and emotional health of the people receiving that treatment. Now, this being said, don't drop all the medications you're taking right now to start sniffing flowers. Yes, it's important that you follow your proper medical advice. All I'm saying is, outside of the medication that you might be taking, you might want to try something like that. Or before you go on medication, these are great tools to use before it gets to aggravated situation. The aromatherapy it's become a science. We used to do this by natural means, and therefore the quality of the oils we used in aromatherapy varied greatly from the actual plant or being used, the quality of the plant, the freshness of the plant, and then the technique used. The techniques have been so refined with science that we've come to being able to obtain a stable product over time. And this product is a higher quality and efficiency. And so therefore, we, instead of just having it in a liquid, we now have it in oil, which is much more concentrated. Yes? Where does the name come from? Who would have named that aromatherapy? And it comes from a French perfumer and chemist, René Maurice Gattefossé. In the book that he wrote on the topic of smells, published in 1937, so this has been around for quite some time. But remember, the first evidence of aromatherapy is from Lemuria and Atlantis. So it's been around for ages, yes? But this guy coined it, aromatherapy. He had previously discovered that the healing potential of lavender in treating burns. And so he was a perfumer. So he's obviously working with all different scents, yes? And he was a chemist. So he was a scientific man. And the beauty of it is that being a perfumer, he was trying to extract always the same smell. So he refined the process, right? Because if you're buying, I don't want to encourage anybody because I'm not getting paid for this, but a very well-known perfume, you expect a certain smell, yes? Because you're spending a lot of money for that smell. So the process has to be refined, and that's what he was doing. And while he was doing that, he discovered the healing properties of lavender on burns. Now, the book discusses the other use of the products, the different scent from the flowers, having actual healing properties. So now, lavender can soothe the burns. Now you're gonna, but you have to. You're not just gonna put oil over a burn, okay? Yeah, you don't want to do that. If you don't know how to properly use aromatherapy or the essential oil, and I recommend you have to read about it. So hopefully this talk today will be informative enough to either get you curious enough to want to try using this method, or realize that you have to do more research on it before you can start using it properly. At the Institute, what we often find is that people want to learn certain things, but they're not willing to take the time to learn the proper technique and apply it properly. And so then they claim this does not work. Well, it's not quite true, but you're not following all the guidelines that you were taught, and you're skipping stuff, and you're rounding corners, and you're being a little lazy here. So when we take the time to explain something, it's because all of the steps are important. So if something's not working, go back to your notes or go back to the beginning of this video and review again, how is it done? Yes? Now, humans have used the aromatherapy for thousands of years, and after Lemuria and Atlantis, we found proof that it was being used in China, India, and Egypt, in Greece, in Rome, Israel, and also Arabia, where they incorporated aromatic plants component with resin, balms, and oils. So this is where the beginning of mixing it in oils appeared. When I was in Egypt, we went to a place where they had all the different smells, and you could select which smell you wanted in your perfume. It's not because they smell good individually that they necessarily smell good grouped together. And sometimes less is more. So if you're, for example, we'll talk about diffusers, and you start going, okay, well, this oil is good for this, and that oil is good for that, and you start mixing everything. It's like trying to get somewhere when there's an accident on the highway. Yes, it's a highway. You think it's going to go faster, but you plugged it up with too many cars, and now there's an accident. It's just very unproductive. If you're working on something, the holistic methods of healing are usually slower than the pills, but they're more natural, meaning that you're strengthening your own personal body to the building blocks that it needs, instead of making a substitute of the products that your body is trying to produce, but for some reason is not producing. Therefore, you need to take it slower and take it one issue at a time. If you have trouble sleeping, just put the lavender in the diffuser at night. If you have trouble waking up in the morning, then you just use the citrus. You could do grapefruit, you could do lemon, you could do orange. They would wake you up, yes? But you don't want to start mixing a whole bunch of stuff together if you're working on, be specific. Which one is the best for anxiety? Which one would be best for feeling sad or depressed? Which one, right? And just do one scent at a time. Some companies have already mixed some for you. They'll call it cheer, or they'll call it, something else. You can work with those, but I like to use a single oil, so I know what's inside. So it involves you being more in charge of your own personal health. It involves you being in charge of the way your healing is going to go. So it makes you more responsible in a way. And I think more aware of what's happening. And if you don't try to attack it from all ends, you can see, okay, this is actually working, or this isn't. Well, and if you're doing something for sleep and it's not working, well, it's not working. This scent is not the one. So then you can always look for a second one. Now, throughout these different countries and these different ages, the plants and the smells and the aromatherapy have been known to have both physical and psychological benefits. Because we can use now, I'm gonna open a bracket here. A lot of the oils that are for sale have additives in them. All right, so a lot of them, instead of you buying actual oil, you're buying a little bit of oil, and then there's chemicals in there, and there's other things. Now, personally, I'm extremely sensitive to any of these things. So if it's not the highest quality, and even if you put it on a diffuser, so we're not even talking about putting the stuff on your skin or anything. If you put a cheap quality oil in a diffuser, my nose will bleed, or I'll have the inside of my nose will crack and I'll start bleeding. So I need to make sure that I always use a high grade quality oil. In Canada, because this is where we're addressing you from, there's only one oil that's been recognized by the Natural Health Board and is considered to be a naturally healing product. There's only one company that has this, and it's called doTERRA. So I'm going to be today talking about different ways to use the oil, but I'm referring to that kind of grade of quality oil that has been tested and approved by the Natural Health Board of Canada and the FDA in the United States. So before you do this with your Walmart oil, I do not recommend anything but the diffuser. Okay. Anything else, you shouldn't put it in the water. You shouldn't bathe in it. You shouldn't put it on your skin. You shouldn't put any of the other things because it's got other stuff other than the oil in it. Okay, so I just want to say all these things at the beginning of this video. I normally don't do so many warnings, but in this one, I just don't want anybody coming back saying my skin burns. And well, yes, if there's chemicals in your essential oil, then yeah, it may be. All right, so we can, obviously, it's aromatherapy, so it's the sense of smell that that we're trying to stimulate, but also you can stimulate it through the skin. The easiest way would be to have a diffuser. Now, the diffusers are these cute little, well, they have square or round ones or whatever. You put oil, the water and the oil in it, and then you plug it in the wall, and it slowly steams out of there, and it will diffuse the essential oils. Even doTERRA says that a very high quality diffuser is probably the best way to be absorbing the aromatherapy because it fills the room. And so you're sure to smell it. Another way is an aromatic spritzer. So this is something that you will spray over time during the course of the day. And then you have inhalers, which I have an example of here. These are fantastic if you travel and you don't want to bring liquid because you're not supposed to bring liquid on the plane. And these come... you simply insert a filler inside. So you will identify these as lavender or lemon or whatever else you need. If you have anxiety on the plane, then you go for the anxiety. This screws into this here, and then you just smell from the tube. It's very pretty. Right, so it fits in the purse. If there's no liquid, because the liquid's been absorbed, so it's not considered liquid, you can take these on the plane. And you only need one of the outside shell, and then you just change the. It's like a Q-tip. What's a Q-tip? What's the white stuff?
Cotton ball.
Cotton ball. Yeah. So it's like a cotton ball, but it's specifically shaped to fit in here. And yeah, so it's nice, pretty, and handy, and fits in a purse. So that's another way, but you can only put one smell per stick. If you start putting more oil on there, it may start mixing the different smell. Bathing salts. Now, this is where it's important, right? You know that you can buy rose and lavender bath salts because those won't be harmful to the skin. You shouldn't bathe with any citrus. The citrus will sting the skin. Now, what's lovely is there's a little book out there, and I don't have it with me today, but it's the ins and outs of aromatherapy. In this book, it tells you which one can be, everything could be put in the diffuser, but which one can be put on the skin, which would include bath salts. And then which one can be actually drank. So doTERRA company has black pepper essential oil. It has clove essential oil. It has several different basil, cardamom. They're spices. And you can use that instead of spices to cook your food, because those are okay. As a general rule, the only ones that you cannot drink or eat are the tree ones, white fir and that kind of stuff. Before consuming them, please double check the information. Yes. And then you can put them in oil to massage the skin. For example, there's a great one to help keep the mosquitoes away. It's called TerraShield. It's already mixed for you. There's another one who's called On Guard. On Guard is a disinfectant, and it strengthens your immune system. So you can put those on your skin. You can put those around your nose. You could put them inside of your breathing mask, so that's what you're smelling instead of the cotton, and that would help. Then there's also hot and cold compresses. So I actually teach aromatherapy massage, not that many people knew this. And then we learn how to use the oils and which part of the area of the body will absorb it more. And it's usually near where there's a lot of nerves. So in your body, where would all the nerves end up? In your spine. So all the nerves are spread out all over the body, eventually come and they connect into the spine, into la moelle épinière. This is the very center of the vertebrae, and work their way all the way up to the brain. So all of these areas are more sensitive to be as receptors for the oils. Now, again, last time I'm going to say this. Before you do any of the other methods, that's not a diffuser, please ensure that you read and make sure that this one can be swallowed in tea. I have this wonderful tea that I make, and when I'm traveling, I can't bring all the herbs with me, so I just bring the sweet little bottles with me, right? And they fit nicely in my purse and my luggage, and I make my tea with those, right? I like to put ginger in my water. I like to put lemon in my water. And when I'm traveling, I can't start juicing ginger and stuff like that. It just doesn't happen. However, by buying the oils, I can put a few drops in my water bottle, which brings me to an important thing. Essential oil and plastic, they don't mix well. The oil will degrade the plastic. So if you're intending on mixing oils and drinking them in something hot like tea or water for a cold water, you shouldn't put it in the plastic bottle. You should have a glass bottle or stainless steel. So as you can see, aromatherapy sounded very simple. And yet when we go into the detail, it's a little bit more complicated than we expected. Now, the nose and the nerve endings actually plug into the limbic system. The limbic system is the set of structures in the brain that deal with the emotion and memory. And that is why it is so effective on emotions, because of where it hooks into. It also regulates the endocrine functions. So we were talking about the kidneys. We're talking about the thyroid is one of them, I believe. All of these very important key, small, tiny organs, endocrine, that are spread out to our body, and they all tie into that spot. So aromatherapy will effectively have an impact on those areas. Now, the limbic system is composed of the four main parts. Yeah, the hypothalamus, the amygdala, that's the one I didn't, thalamus, and the hippocampus. Okay, so those are the four little ones that I was talking before that are in your brain. So if you want to research that, go all medical on me. You go right ahead. Hypothalamus, amygdala, thalamus, and the hippocampus. And all the endocrine glands. Yeah, they're not organs, they're glands. Now, the benefits of aromatherapy is that you can, with it, manage pain. You can improve your sleep quality. And I kid you not, in hotel rooms, because I travel so much normally, this is a difficult time. I am in strange places all the time. And with strange places comes strange smells. And if you're a little sideways obsessive compulsive as I am, you might be a little worried. And so one of the things that calms me down when I'm in strange places is my little lavender. Right? Exactly. Yes. It also can reduce stress, agitation, and anxiety. It's really hard to have a straight face right now because I got clowns in the background. Now, it will soothe sore joints. So again, it people think that, oh, I'm trying to soothe my sore joints, so I'm going to rub my joint. But I'm telling you, because we're trying to do this with the smell, yes, it will actively work on your knees, but it's much, much faster to actually smell it. So it goes straight to your brain, as opposed to wait for the message to get from your knees to your brain. And the potency of the message is much, much stronger in your brain when it gets the message that way. It can treat headaches and migraine. It can alleviate side effects of chemotherapy. It can ease discomfort of labor, fight bacteria, virus, or fungus, and improve digestion. I've tried that on my brother and actually worked fantastic. And improve hospice and palliative care and boost immunity. And as I said, some of them have already been created for you. The Totoro especially has a smell that's called On Guard. And with that smell, they made the toothpaste with it. They made the soap, hand soap. And everybody at the center is using that soap, and they absolutely love the smell of it. They made the laundry detergent. They've made the cleaners, and everything being that they're essential oil and 100% natural product. And when you're using these things on furniture, on the floor, and counter space, it's safe for animals, children, babies to crawl all over, and there's no side effect. There's no chemicals left behind. So you might, because as you can see, it can be cumbersome a little bit with the aromatherapy, you might choose to work with an aromatherapist. Someone is certified and has learned which smell works best and which way to use the product. And that's it's a nice way to get started, to have someone to guide you through the process. If you're lucky, you may have someone who's already into the products, but that doesn't certify them as doctors or nurses or a therapist per se. So always double check the information you're getting, and don't automatically trust everything you find on the internet, because sometimes, some people are just posting stuff on there and they don't double check, and then it becomes, I don't know, they have more followers than another person, and that's the one that becomes popular. So always double check. Use your ability to do a little bit of research and make sure that you're ingesting the right thing or you're doing the right thing. Now, the advantage of working with an aromatherapist is that during a consultation, there'll be an individual treatment plan designed for you and your needs, and specifically for what you're trying to treat. For example, in my household, it's what we're using. So if someone's starting to have a stuffy nose or a cold, we right away know the recipe. We mix the different oils, and they don't taste good. So to reduce the number of complaints that I get, I use vegetable capsule, and you can put the oil inside, and eliminates the taste unless you drip oil all over outside the capsule, and then they swallow that, and within a day or two, all symptoms are gone. Because we are restoring the balance through frequency using the smells, right? We could use music, we could use Reiki energy, we could use many different methods. And I can't say that one is better than another. I think that at one point, one is easier than another, and that's why I will choose that one over something else. Then, the aromatherapy is considered a complementary therapy. So it was always meant to maybe have a Reiki energy treatment going along with it. And that's certainly the way they did it in Lemuria. It was always meant to be personally tailored. So it wasn't supposed to have all end-all be-all specific things. It's always meant to be working with you and your specific needs. Now there's side effects sometimes, and they can include rashes, And if you're having rashes with the oils, it's because you're using oil you shouldn't put on your skin. It's as simple as that. So you haven't done your homework and you haven't checked properly. There can be asthma attacks. Now, some people are saying, that they don't like smells. Smells give them headaches. And I would encourage you to verify what's the content of the oil you're using. Because with the sensitivity level that I have yet to have any breathing issues using any of the doTERRA oils. But I've had issues in the past with cheap oils, and I've tried them because they're cheaper. So wouldn't that be nicer to spend a little bit less money? If you do your research properly, you will find that something like ylang ylang works with anxiety. It works with depression. It works with a lot of the mood correction. So sometimes you're better off buying a ylang ylang from doTERRA. It's more costly, but extreme quality, rather than having all these different other smells that are really cheap and not functioning as well. Yes. So, and the reason why I'm explaining this is that if you go in any aisle of stores, let's say we'll take superstores. They have the no brand, right? With the yellow sticker, they're super ugly, but they're cheaper. Mm-hmm. Now, someone else is obvious. It's not Superstore that's making that stuff. Superstore is buying it from somebody else, but they said we're putting our label on there, and they're selling it cheaper. But the quality is the same as the other company. In this case, that's not what we're talking about. The name, we're not just paying for the name. We're paying for the science behind it. You're paying for the tests that have been done, and you're paying for the quality here. Okay, that's different. So this aromatherapy is not a place where you want to save money. It's actually the place where you want to go for the highest grade quality. And that should avoid getting the headaches and the allergic reactions and the nausea, because often it's not the actual oil that's going to cause the issue. It's everything else that they put in it that is causing those side effects. So you should use with caution, and always make sure that you read the label appropriately, because the last thing you want is end up with things like if you want to try to work on eczema and psoriasis, which is skin disease, skin issues. If you want to work with those, don't put the stuff on your skin. Put it in the diffuser or put in one of these, and as you see your skin reacting, then get this out and then smell it. But don't put anything on your skin. All right. So the testing that you're looking for is the certified pure tested grade quality. And so far, the only one that has tested this way effectively over time and has been approved was doTERRA. This is not a commercial for doTERRA, but what can I say? Now, inhalation, which means you will breathe the oil. Yes, the oil will evaporate into the air, and as it's, I'm being asked, how many drops of oil are we putting in? Well, it depends how strong the smell you want to be. Depends how big the room is. It depends how long you want it to last. Are you doing it for 4 hours? Are you doing it for 8 hours? Yeah, those are all. I can't give you 3 drops, right? Because if you're doing this in the bathroom, in our bathroom, 1 drop is going to be enough, right? And unless we make it run for 8 hours, then I'd say maybe 3 drops. If you're trying to do this room here, which is all open space and quite large, then we might require 10 to 12 drops for 8 hours. Okay, so it depends how intense you want the smell to be. Do you want people to come in the room and really smell it, or you want it to be a more discreet thing? All of these things play in the factor of how many drops you're going to use and what's the concentration that you should put in so I have, again, no secret recipe. This is a trial and error method, right? So try it and see what works for you. Now, aside from providing the respiratory change in your brain, it also serves as a decongestant and maybe disinfecting the air. So if you have an area of your house that is got like a lot of pair of shoes, you could put a drop on bounce sheets. You want to buy the bounce sheets that are clean and free, the ones that don't have smell, and then you put one in the back of the closet where your shoes are, and you put the oil on the bounce, not on the shoes, on the bounce. And the bounce will diffuse the smell and will make the smell last a lot longer. So it's a nice way to clear the bad areas that, are difficult. If some of you have teenagers, if you play hockey, if you, the football, the stuff stinks. And you can't always wash the equipment. So this is a nice way to freshen up the sports bag. You put it in the sports bag where they put their gear if they don't air it out, or if they do air it out, which is a bonus, you put it in the room where they air it out. Okay? Now, inhaling the essential oil. Why is it better as a method than the other ones? It's because while you're inhaling, it stimulates the olfactory system and the part of the brain that it's connected to. The molecules, they enter the nose and the mouth, will pass through your lungs as well. So you're getting the benefit of then it being circulated through your entire body, through the blood and the oxygen mixing together. As the molecule, so then you have the direct hit and you have a secondary hit. You understand? So you have the immediate effect and then a long-lasting effect of the inhalation. So as the molecules, and this is scientifically, the results of a scientific research, as it reaches the brain and the limbic system, the heart rate, the blood pressure, the breathing are all eased down. So there's a noticeable decrease in stress in the body. There's also affects the hormone balances. So in a way, we were talking about thyroid at the beginning of the talk, it will affect all these glands in your body as it's circulating through the blood system. Okay, so inhalation has many benefits, yes. Now, I'm going to need a little bit of help. So, diffuse, start with 3-4 drops of oil, right, in the diffuser. Or apply the essential oil to a cotton ball, that's the word I was looking for, in a desired area, such as a car vent. Okay, but you can, of course, now it's a business, yes? You can buy the little diffusers you can clip on to your air vents. Now they sell those. And like I said, if you don't want the cotton ball, you can do the bounce sheet because you can attach it to the wall because it's flat. You can combine the essential oil and water in a spray and mist it. So what is the Febreze stuff, do you think? Right? It's chemicals that absorb the smell. You can do the same thing with just your oils that you have at home and mix it with water and just spray it, mix it. And it's really nice over the sheets in the bed, freshen up the linen. Stuff that, it's hard to wash, like your duvet cover or things like that you can't wash regularly. So this freshens it up really nicely. You can add one drop of oil in your laundry or in your dryer. You put it on the dryer sheets and you leave it. If you want something really cheap, buy a bunch of tennis balls. Tennis balls will do the same job. They will absorb all the static. It would also fluff your clothes. And then you just have to drop the 1 drop of essential oil in one tennis ball. And usually in a regular dryer, you'll put 2 tennis balls. And your laundry will look 10 million times better than what you ever had before. And the tennis ball are continuously reusable. So it's not something that you throw out. It's great for the environment. So it's a cheap and easy trick from Samya's bag of baskets of tricks. Also, you can put it on the palm of your hands, rubbing your hands together to inhale. Well, for some people that's difficult. They're going to go around going all day long, right? So that doesn't work. So what you can do, would you please? Thank you. What you can do is also on jewelry. If you have volcanic stones, Why volcanic stones? Because volcanic stones are porous, and they will absorb the oil, as opposed to crystals, which the oil will just float over it and just eventually just go straight to your skin. So you want to be, if you want the oil to be inside the actual stone, because then you know which stones to smell. Yes, it can be done in bracelets. It can be done in pendants as well. So a good one would be one where it comes with a cotton ball or a felt, and then you have the felts of different colors, and then you know that your pink felt is lavender, and your I don't know, your yellow felt is citrus or grapefruit, and you keep your little felt separate, and you just wear whatever you need for the day. These are really good for children because they can keep them under their shirt, and just while they're playing, at school or trying to focus on the lessons, they can just continuously absorb the smell. Yes? Okay. Now, we're going to go into the applications on the skin. Applications for the skin, like I said, not every oil goes on the skin. So the massage oil, they can go in the baths, in bath salts, and in some skincare products. Avoid the face. Okay, this is something that you want to put on your hands, yes, on your feet, yes, but not on the face. To boost the absorption, go to places where you would normally put perfume. So we know that we put perfume right behind the ears because that's where our jugular is. And their jugular has the blood pumping and keeps the area warmer than other areas. These areas can be the inside of your elbows, the inside of your wrists, and also behind the knees. Those places are going to facilitate a better, higher rate of absorption of the whatever oil you're using because it's warmer. And so it keeps it more active and so diffuses it. If you're a person that's burning hot, well, it's just like anything else that burns hot, it will burn faster. Which is where the jewelry comes more into play because it's a steady release as opposed to a more impacted release by your body heat, right? So it's a better way to control it. But if you don't have money for jewelry, then your skin will work. Now, in my personal experience, doTERRA oil you can just put 1 drop and it's going to be fine. For the other ones, before applying it to your skin, to just try to see if you're going to have chemical products in the oils. Yes, I can't say this enough, I guess. So check the essential oil label before, if this product is suggested 3 methods. N for neat, which means apply directly to the skin without a carrier oil. S for sensitive, which means that in that case, it's better to dilute the oil prior to putting it on sensitive skin type. And then D for dilute, and it requires a dilution of the oil before it can be applied. And some oils are just not recommended for the skin. Yes? Don't apply around the eyes. Don't apply inside the ears. It's always meant for external use. And don't apply on any broken, damaged, injured skin. So like I said, if you have a burn, you can sniff the lavender oil you want, but you can't put the lavender oil on your burn. That's not appropriate. Okay, that's not going to help whatsoever. And I realized that for some people, they find that really tough to understand that smelling something is going to actually fix your skin, but it actually works, right? It's a reaction that we're looking for. Now, used in cooking. That's my favorite one. It's so strong and so much more potent that when we did the same recipe that we used, let's say, an easy one, spaghetti sauce, right? Or pasta. We put herbs. We put oregano. We put thyme. We put ginger maybe. And we tested it. We just did the vegetable. And 1 drop, so All you need is 1 drop of one of each of these things in a very large pot. And oh, the flavor. You could actually go, oh, that's what it tastes like to put thyme in something, or to put, because maybe you did notice, but spices actually expire. Mm-hmm. So after 6 months, your spices have lost all flavor. And how many of you have spices that have been sitting in a cupboard for like a year or 2 because you barely ever use it? So it's you're putting stuff in there, but you're actually putting nothing. It's just dried stuff now. It has no nutritional value. It has no energetic value. It doesn't serve its purpose anymore as far as the taste is concerned. So with oil, the beauty of it is that it never loses its quality. A good essential oil should be in a brown or dark bottle and usually kept away from the light and heat source. So obviously the heat diffuses it. So you want to keep it as potent as you can. And so normally we keep ours in a wooden box. Now, they've been sitting here for almost an hour now. It's fine. But you don't want it to be exposed to the sun and the light and the heat on a consistent basis. So we just pull them out when you use it, put them back in to store them. Okay? Ours are kept in one of the coolest places in the house, which is our closet. And we have them in the box, a wooden box, so it protects them from the light. Now, so I encourage you to try it. My son, the first time he tried, you know how you go spoon of spices because it doesn't taste anything. He went whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. So it was very, very, very tasty. And sometimes what we found, like we like to cook our fish in the oven, and we mix the sauce with mustard, and we make our own sauces. We don't buy them pre-made, so everything's handmade at the house. And a drop of oil for that small of a quantity is too much. Yeah. So what we do is we're mixing a bigger jar of sauce with 1 drop, and then we can do 4 or 5 fishes with that much spices. Sauce.
I was told to do it with a toothpick.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess this is a good suggestion. Someone says to take a toothpick because the bottles have a small hole to really drop count the drops so it doesn't spill your entire bottle into something. And they're saying using a toothpick and dropping just with the toothpick. And that would be for a smaller jar sauce. It's a trial and error. I think it's very interesting. I find it fun to try those recipes that you've been tasting forever and then discover what it was supposed to taste like all along. And the only closest thing to that would be to actually take fresh basil and fresh thyme and fresh herbs and actually mixing them. That's the equivalent of having the oil in there. So the do's and don'ts of the internal. You, again, have to check the label to make sure that it's approved for internal use. 1 drop of essential oil for every 120 milliliters of water. So about a half a cup. Okay, so when I say that, that's about what we need for a fish. So 1 drop, but usually we like to put 2 or 3 different oil drops. And then we'll put the ginger, we'll put a garlic, we'll put, so that's too much for that small. So if you want to measure for recipe, for half a cup, you put 1 drop. Slowly add to recipes using a toothpick. Oh, there it was. Oh. And add to vegetable capsule and consommé. So vegetable capsule is the one that are particularly, you don't want to eat them in food, but you're trying to boost your immune system. You're trying to cure a cold or things like that. That's when the vegetable capsule comes in. And the don'ts, don't go like this into your mouth. All right? You don't want to do that. One of the things that I did to help my brother who had a lot of burping, he constantly burped. And I know that it's not because he's rude. He really couldn't help it. It was something wrong with his digestive system. And he constantly burped for like all day. And it was bothering him beyond the fact that it seemed kind of rude. It was bothering him. And so we started having just a cup of tea. So a plain cup of hot water and with xanthochrine oil in there to help him in his digestion. In doTERRA, it's there's also digest zen. And so just 2 drops of oil, and we mixed that. And he drank that after every meal. And after 3 days, all burping stopped. That was all that he needed to be able to finally ease what was going on inside of him. But we didn't put them straight in his mouth. We just mixed it in with hot water. Okay? Good. Now, I have a funny story to tell. I love those. It's story time. So the story is, at the time of the plague, they were not searching the bodies of the people. They were wrapping them and tossing them into mass graves because they didn't know how it was propagated, and they were afraid to catch the disease, and it was killing so many people that people were afraid to catch it. But someone had to take the dead bodies out because then it would create even more problems. So if they died with gold on them and money on them, it was being buried with them. So that gave birth to grave robbers. The grave robbers at that particular time in France were merchants. And because of the plague, and now you will see how fitting this is because of COVID. Now we see the borders are closed and things are just not making it from one country to the next. So they couldn't travel. There was an interdiction of traveling, and so they couldn't do their business. And so they turned to thieving. But they were spies and merchants, and they had traveled to the east, and they knew that some herbs had healing properties. They were eventually caught grave robbing. And you have to understand, the respect for the dead is very important. So grave robbing was a hangable sin. You were going to die hanging. However, interestingly enough, the authorities realized that these men were grave robbing people that died from the plague, and yet they weren't catching the plague. They weren't getting sick, and they weren't dying. So they mitigated their circumstances and said, you will be punished, but you will not be killed. Now, that's a big incentive, if you ask me, if you tell us how you stayed healthy. And this is called the thief story, because they were using clove, lemon, cinnamon, eucalyptus, rosemary, thyme, and myrrh. They were mixing these things and creating a mix with which they would put on their hands and put on their scarf, and it would boost their immune system and keep them clean of bacteria and disease. Now, we also know that the way that plagues are transmitted is from bite from the, sorry, I only have the French words, fleas, right? That were carried around by rats. So if you think that rats spread the plague in the sense that they traveled all over the place on boats, and that's how it got spread, but only because the fleas were being carried by the rats. And then the fleas were biting the humans, and then the humans would get sick. So this disinfectant was so powerful that it became a hand sanitizer, a deodorant, a mirror cleaner, and also a spray that killed mildew. And using these herbs, they stayed healthy. Now, this mix is now available at the center. Yay.
Yay.
Yes, so you can purchase that if you like. Now, we're going to go into the place where aromatherapy is most often used nowadays, and it's in self-care, right? So we understand that it's better to get a medical professional advice. And aromatherapy is a complementary technique to help you be better and heal faster and get you back on track as a complement therapy. And so it becomes more about a relaxation method. It becomes more of an invigorating method, energizing, right? Or true massages. That's when the most popular use in today will take place. Now, at school or in the office, Although who goes to the office these days? But your home office would be a great place. Yes. So it depending on which oil you're using, and this is the key, right? Because different oils do different things. So depending on what you're using, it could be used for a memory enhancer, for improved concentration, for either calming and relaxing in a stressful environment, or an uplifting and inviting, if like your office it was like mine. Not inviting whatsoever. Also, if you're working from home and you have the children, and you have it will, this works on dogs and cats as well. So you can just have it in the house. But if you're working from home, it's really nice, because it makes especially if it helps create an area. It helps create this bubble. And then what do you want inside that bubble? And you choose. You make your own environment. So it's really nice. And it's kind of nice also for places that, you can't have flowers because people are allergic. And aromatherapy is unlike perfume. Perfume is meant to disperse, right? It's meant to invade the space. And did you know that to make perfume, the actual perfume, not a water perfume, but the actual perfume is made with skunk? Because what happens when a skunk sprays? Not only does it disperse, it stinks for days. Yes. So just like when making the fish sauce, they only take not even a drop and put it in the perfume, and it mixes with the perfume and gives that perfume this ability to expand and fill the room and last. Yes. Aromatherapy is the complete opposite. It's not meant to attack your senses. It's meant to soothe your senses. Oftentimes, it's very faint and can only be smelled in short distances and only while it's running. Once your diffuser runs out, the smell will run out. So if you ever go back to work in a public environment, if you work so for some of you who are working in stores and can't really have a diffuser, these ones are really handy, right? Because you can carry them in your pocket and take a nice swiff of the smell and get yourself back awake. And it's also really good. I use mine when I get congested. And so I put eucalyptus. And it's nice because instead of putting Vicks on you and then you smell like a sick old person all day and, being all gooey from the Vicks, you have the eucalyptus that you just smell as you're struggling to breathe, and it clears everything up, and then you're good. And then you just need to keep sniffing all through the day. And 15 drops will really embed into this cotton, so it's going to last forever. And because it's closed off, it doesn't evaporate. So it's a really good little toy. I love my toys. Now, the laundry tips, I shared with you the instead of the dryer sheets, to use the tennis balls. You can put it in the washing machine as well, but I find that in the dryer is the best place. But if you have, like me, a lot of stuff that doesn't go in the dryer, do my friends love me or what? Then you put in the washing machine, meaning that allows you to buy the soap that is the purest, and it's just soap, right? So it's not filled with chemical to smell like lavender. Instead, you add 2 drops of lavender oil to your laundry. Do you see that the advantage of this is that we're trying to reduce the irritants that your skin has to suffer through? There's so much chemical in the air that's floating around. And if you think that you only breathe in with your nose, it's not true. You have pores all over your skin. And so your skin is constantly breathing all day long, and it's breathing all these things. And what's against our skin all the time is our clothes. So it's breathing through the clothes. So if you have a lot of chemicals and irritants in your clothes, then your skin gets irritated. And that's how we develop sensitive skin. So instead, if you use the purest form of soap, that usually will include no smell, no additives, no anything else, then you go with the essential oil to give it the smell you want. And what's nice is that one day you can decide you want your laundry to smell like lavender, and the next day it can smell like orange. So you can change your smell without having to buy 10 different bottles of laundry soap. I like it. It also, the essential oil, some of it is really, really good to remove gum and grease. So if you have a mechanic in the house, or if you have a lot of kids doing extreme sports, or, the different recipe, some of them are really, really good to remove the grease and the gum. Now, I have a recipe for you. So hopefully those of you who want to take this down, you will have a pen and a piece of paper. Andy, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and off we go. Then to clean the fridge and the microwave. Now, do you know how complicated, the microwave, it all gets sticky in there. And because the fridge is cold, everything gets sticky really, really fast, yes? So it can be as far as I'm concerned, the 2 most challenging things to wash in the kitchen. Because, it's just not nice to clean those areas, because the kids, and I have kids, they put stuff in the microwave. They refuse to put the top on there because it's so much work and so complicated, right? And then it explodes all over the microwave and it dries up. And anyway, you get the drift. So this is a do-it-yourself refrigerator and microwave cleaner. We will be featuring the lemon essential oil for an easy cleaning job and refreshing aroma. So you mix together a cup of white vinegar, 2 cups of hot water, and 15 drops of lemon oil. And all you have to do is mix these ingredients, and you put them in a glass spray bottle. Why glass? Again, because the oil will deteriorate your plastic bottles. And aromatherapy gaining in popularity and being more and more popular, glass bottles are now available pretty much anywhere. So you just gotta do a quick search. You can buy them online too. They're easy to find. They're not expensive. And then all you have to do is put yourself a little note on there, the cleaning fridge, microwave, and it's gonna be good for several use. So that's what's nice. And then you just spray it in the microwave, and you scrub and wash with the damp cloth, and it's gonna go. And it's going to smell really nice. Another one that people love to clean is their yoga mat. And no matter how much you seem to be able to wipe this yoga mat, it keeps the smell. So here's a good recipe for yoga mats. And especially, think about it. You're going to do yoga, and instead of smelling the stench of, drops of sweat that dropped on there and dried off on there, you're going to be smelling a nice, refreshing smell that are going to be invigorating during your yoga practice. So it's a double whammy on this one. So the ingredients is 3/4 cup distilled water. That means it's not mineral water. You can buy distilled water for really cheap at pharmacies and supermarkets. 1/4 cup of alcohol-free witch hazel or white vinegar. Neither of them smell good. But witch hazel is one of the things that Edgar Cayce always favored. So FYI. 5 drops of lavender oil, and then 3 drops of melaleuca oil. And again, you mix into a glass spray bottle. Now, not all yoga mats are made the same, so you don't want to ruin your mats either. So try it in a small portion and see what it does. But and you're not soaking the yoga mat; you're just spraying and wiping down your mat. And then that will give you a lovely smell while doing yoga. And you'll get rid of, and it also going to disinfect. Now, someone in the room here kind of winced when I said fridge and microwave, because I think they think their stove is more a problem. That's because they don't have kids throwing stuff in the microwave all the time. But the stovetop can be hard to clean as well. And I have a specific recipe for the stovetop. The stovetop cleaner is a 1/4 cup baking soda. And that's more for it creates the grit that you need to take off the dried up or burnt food that's on the stovetop. 1/4 cup of table salt. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. So everyday, common kitchen items. 2 tablespoons of water. So it's more of a paste than a liquid, that one. And 4 to 5 drops of a Purify cleansing blend. or lemon. Now you stir all that, and it's going to form a paste, and you spread it over the stove and the burners, and the things that go under the elements. If you have one of those, as I have I've had in the past a glass top, so those are good for any of those types of finish. You leave it on for 15 minutes, and a little bit longer if you have hard to remove stain. You use a sponge and just scrub it off and remove the excess and just wipe the surface clean. Depending on how big is your stove, you can maybe have 1 or 2 use out of this. Also, how grimy it is and all that. Yes. Now, one that you're all going to be happy about, my next recipe is the gardener hand soap. Aha. So what's the problem when we garden? I would try it for mechanic. They have that special soap. It's orange soap, and it's got grit in it, right, to remove the grime that is really stuck to their hands. But planting and maintaining a garden, we also damage our hand because it dries up the skin, and then as the skin dries up, then it cracks, and that's what's causing all the issues. So this soap will do the exfoliation, will clean your hand, and moisturize all at once. So it's like a miracle cure for the gardeners. I love it. Yeah. You ready for the recipe?
Yes.
I have a few people watching. I'm getting a thumbs up, so I'm glad you guys are there with us live and enjoying this. 1/2 cup of white sugar, 3 tablespoons of liquid Castile soap, a teaspoon of almond oil, 7 drops of clary sage oil, and 5 drops of melaleuca oil. Now, the melaleuca is the disinfecting, the really cleansing part, so it's a really good one to have. Now, in a small bowl, you're going to add all of these ingredients, and you're going to stir until it's smooth and all combined. Yes. So it's gonna make like that little gritty thing, but it's sugar, right? It's not sand, so it won't have the same effect on your skin. And the soap will clean, and the rest of it will moisturize your skin with the oil. It's absolutely lovely. It's really, really, really nice. And then it needs to be kept in an airtight container once you need to use it again. And you basically scoop it with your finger or have a spoon. If your fingers are really dirty, you don't want to miss the dirt inside of that jar. But you just scoop a spoonful, and then you just rub your hands. And then it's amazing because your hands come out, and they're just absolutely lovely, lovely, lovely hands. If you're traveling and you have dirty laundry, there's nothing worse than coming home and opening your suitcase, because I don't know if it ferments in there. It didn't seem to smell all that bad when you left the country, but like 10 hours later, you come home and it just like reeks. This is, again, a good time for the tennis ball. It weighs nothing, takes hardly any room. Drop a few drops of essential oil in the tennis ball and just put that in your luggage. And these are great for traveling, yes, inside the plane. And you can also get, like I said, if this was an ad, I think it would be a great infomercial. But these are the bottles that the oils come in, right? For doTERRA, anyway. It comes in the 50 millimeter size and the 5 millimeter size. But you can also get a little pouch that's like a travel kit. And those things you can buy anywhere on Amazon and the internet, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily a doTERRA product. The important thing is the actual oil. Now, whatever you put the oil in after that for traveling, it's up to you. So they're really, really neat. They're easy. They can fit in your wallet. You can travel with them everywhere. They're easy to use. That being said, I think there's about 150 different types of oils. I've decided to make a small summary of what I find to be the most powerful oils. So these are the ones that you can actually, if you want to know what the recommendations that I make on some of the oils, if you look into my 13 chakra book, for each of the chakras, I list a number of oils that can be used for all of the chakras. But these are a few in, highlights. Bergamot. Bergamot is for happiness, prosperity. It heals the heart and uplifts the spirit. Roman chamomile. Roman chamomile de-stresses, quiets the mind, helps with sleep and calming. So some of these oils cost more than others. So remind me to talk about that. Citronella and peppermint. Both will make you be alert, awake, bring focus, clarity, and are an antidepressant. So people love the smell of peppermint, but don't go to sleep with peppermint. You'll never sleep, right? Mm-hmm. So this is why it's not because you like a certain smell that it's going to be effective in what you want to use it for, right? Now, you have eucalyptus. Eucalyptus clears the lung, removes mucus, and helps to help with smoking. Ta-da! There's a good one. So instead of, we've switched, instead of using the Vic stuff, now we've gone straight to eucalyptus. And I was lucky when I was in Australia. I got my hands on pure eucalyptus oil. Lovely, just priceless. Frankincense and myrrh are both, for those of you who know this, were gifts that Jesus received when he was born. They are very, very, very powerful and are used for spiritual uplifting, for purification, for unconditional love, intuition, meditation, and learning to let go. So when we make our water smudge, these are the ingredients that are going in the water smudge. That's the two of the main ingredients that we put in there. Jasmine and Melissa. Now, why do we have jasmine and Melissa? Because Melissa's bottle like this costs $150 to $175, as opposed to the jasmine, which is cheaper. Okay. So both are to work on unconditional love, romance, and spiritual rejuvenation. And finally, lavender for stress, headache, depression, and sleep. Rose oil is very expensive because roses are expensive. And it takes a lot of petals to make a little jar of oil, as opposed to oranges, which barely cost anything, and you can have a ton of it, and so the oil costs barely anything. The cost of the oil, the process is the same for any type of oils that we're doing, so that doesn't vary. What vary is the price of the base product that we're using. So if you wonder why is an oil so expensive, it's just because the flowers being used for the oil is rarer. And that's why some bottles are not sold in 50 millimeters. They're only sold in 5 millimeters. And also, depending on availability of the product, because doTERRA is using appropriate farming and collection, they won't deplete areas. And so sometimes they will be out of stock on certain products. So I personally have one of everything. And so, but I use it all the time. Before you go and buy 150 oils, just start with the main ones I just named, or really look at which one works for what I need, and just start with that and see, am I going to actually use the product? Is this going to become a habit? Is this going to become my everyday life? Or am I just trying something and I'm not interested, and I'm just, this is a waste of money, right? Like anything else, yes, it's great. Yes, it works, but it all depends on, are you using it? And so before you spend a ton of money, just start with a few and see if you're applying what it's for. Yeah, like everything else. Now, the book reference that I wanted to give you was Modern Essential Usage Guide for Aromatherapy. And I've used the 7th edition, and I really like it because you can search it by oils. So you can go to lavender and see what this lavender has to offer. The book is very clear on what can be put in the diffuser, what can be put on the skin, if it needs to be diluted, what can be put in food or drinks, and what was the last one? Am I missing one? Diffuser, skin, food, and the different levels of dilution required. Yes. So you can also search it with cold, menstrual cramps, joint pain, and then it will tell you either use these oils individually or use this mix. And so that's kind of nice. And it explains the property. And this book is very well written because it explains how aromatherapy works. So if you have difficulty understanding how that works, then it's a nice way to have it in writing as well. So that concludes my talk for today. And I would like to know if there are any questions. Because I know there's a few of you watching there, and it's so nice to see some returning people. Anybody with anything? I have viewers everywhere, but I guess I must be really good at what I do because no one has anybody question. Can someone just say hi to me? Just to make sure you're still here. Hello. Yeah. Okay, no questions?
No
questions. That's good. So if you're looking for the products that we offer, they're available on the website at www.sonyaroy, SONYAROY.com. If hi, you mentioned earlier that aromatherapy is good for pets. What would you recommend a spray one can make for around or in the little box of a cat? I would go with the Melaleuca and the lemon. And so I would, and you could do that with, again, I don't know, for cats, you might not want to use the tennis ball. It might be more of a toy for them, but that's where you can just use, the reason why the bounce sheet is a good idea is because it diffuses slower than if you use a cotton ball. So that it's a longer lasting effect. You're welcome. Also, it would be safe to put in the box itself because it won't hurt the cats or be harmful to their paws as they're walking through it. Yeah, that's good. If you have a nervous dog that likes to bark a lot, diffusing essential oil during the day, and the diffusers are really safe, right? So if you set it for 8 hours, it'll automatically shut down after 8 hours. And if it does run out of water before the 8 hours is up, it's going to shut down anyway. And then you can diffuse some calming lavender or some other calming oils that you may have that I suggested. Bergamot would be one of them. And you diffuse that in the house to keep the dog calm. A lot of we love our pets. They're our treasure. And our pets are, they're feeling the stress of us not being home. They're feeling our stress when we come home and we're rushing here, rushing there, trying to get things done. And we're exhausted when we plow ourselves on the couch. And so for them, it's really beautiful that they, during the day, know that they have this calming effect on them. So I guess I have to leave them a little bit of time to actually type in those questions. So, but at the center, we do have the products, all the jewelry made with the lava stones, and also the diffusers with the cotton balls, and for traveling and for the car, and in the jewelry. So if any of those things interest you, you can contact us or look up on the website. And for the doTERRA, same thing. If you're interested in ordering an oil or two before joining and becoming a member, and you just want to say, okay, I just want to try this for now, you can do that. We'll be happy to help you out. Our job is not to sign consultants. It's not to pressure sell anybody, but we always have the oils here available so that anybody who just wants one doesn't have to pay a $35 membership fee every year and all that stuff. And we're happy to help because we believe these things actually work, and that's why we're encouraging the use of it. Just the proper use and a use that goes according to the guidelines. Yes?
They also have, with the doTERRA bottles, you'll have the different caps, which you'll know which is an ingestible one you can actually ingest and which you can't.
But I still would prefer that they refer to the listing of the oil to make sure that that which one you can ingest, which one you can put on your skin, which one you must dilute before you put on your skin, and which one you can put in your food. Oh, got another question. Okay, well, I thank you very much. And next week, we're having the talk on the Druids of the Celtic tradition. I'll even wear special clothes for it, just for you guys. I am very, very excited. I prepared these talks in advance, and it's gonna be amazing. I'm totally psyched for it. So I hope I see you again next week. And meanwhile, just know that we're here and we love you, and we're thinking about you guys.
Stay safe.
Good night, everybody.